Guardians in the middle of a series with Detroit, currently trailing 4-3. Hit a couple home. Angel Martinez. How about the debut for this guy? Got a 2-run double today, and he's been tearing it up. I think he's hitting over 350. But Bibby's struggling a little bit today, but Taven's boy Daniel Schneemann went deep for the third run of the game. So they sit at 4-3 right now. Currently 1-1 in the series with Detroit. I've got today's game and then tomorrow. And then they wrap it up with a 3-game set in Tampa Bay before the All-Star break. So we talked a little bit last week if there was some concern. It was coming off the 3-game losing streak. And now they're 6-7 in their last 13 games. So what are your guys' feelings about how they've been playing now heading into the All-Star break? James, go ahead. We'll start with you.
Young team, just trying to get to the finish line of the All-Star break. And I said last week, if we feel bad, all we have to do is look at the Yankees, and then we'll start feeling better because their struggles look worse than ours. So I think we're just trying to get through, a hot July and, get to the All-Star break. We've had a lot of player movement lately, but the key guy that's, for me on the team is our Mariano Rivera, Emmanuel Clase. As long as he keeps staying solid at the back end of the games, and then our all-star, first-time all-star Stephen Kwan keeps staying hot at the top of the order, I think everything else is going to fall in place. But, it's a long season. Anybody that's stressing over it shouldn't. I think we're showcasing a lot of our young guys coming up from the minors, whether that be for who's going to start or who could potentially be traded. So I'm not worried at all. I'm just trying to sit back and enjoy this team for what they are and what they've been the first half of the year.
Taven, how about you? How you feeling heading into the All-Star break?
Yeah, I mean, the losing streak, there's going to be that with any team. There's also going to be injuries. I mean, just glad that there aren't that many. But, I mean, the young guys, Angel Martinez and then John Kenzie Noel coming up, filled in. That's been huge for us. Daniel Schneemann panning out. That's been huge for us. The only negative thing that I've seen so far is the starting pitching. Not that it's been bad, but it hasn't been as good as we thought it would be. And a lot of that's due to injury, but I think at the deadline, you just really got to package up a couple of these 2, 3, maybe even 4 of these minor league guys that aren't getting a ton of time and go out and get yourself a starter for the playoff push.
Yeah, James, you mentioned the All-Stars. We got 5 of them this year. Jose Ramirez and Stephen Kwan will both be starting at third base and left field, respectively. Josh Naylor, well-deserved, voted in, on pace for over 40 home runs right now. Emmanuel Clase, best relief pitcher in the American League, maybe the major leagues. He's in there. And then the big surprise was David Fry, making it in as the DH. He's kind of struggled the last month or so. He really put up some big numbers the first couple months of the season, but gets his first All-Star nod, and I saw the video of them a vote letting him know, and that was pretty cool. He was pretty excited, and everybody was pretty pumped for him. Taven, you mentioned adding a starting pitcher. Chris Antonetti was on MLB Network earlier this week, and he talked about the challenges of acquiring a starting pitcher with the high price tag. There's a lot less sellers this year and more buyers. So it's going to be a seller's market for sure. So, the price tag is going to be high. We do have the prospects. It's just a matter of, are they going to want to pay the price for what's being asked? I know, Taven, you mentioned Crochet before we came on from the White Sox. He's definitely going to come with a high price tag, and plus an interdivision. I'm sure the White Sox are going to want to stick to the Guardians a little more if they want to send him this way. But what are your guys' thoughts? I know, pitching is the name of the game, but say they can't get a starting pitcher, would you like to see him maybe add one bat or two to kind of compensate and maybe lift up the offense?
David, go ahead.
Bat wise, I think the only guy you really need to, or spot, I'll say, that you need to fill is catcher. Austin Hedges hasn't obviously done really anything since he's been in Cleveland, and Bo Naylor's been off to a slow start, but he's been one of your top prospects, so you can't really give up on him yet. But if you can add another catcher, I think that would be big, and then a bullpen arm. Going into the stretch, the playoff stretch at the end of the season. I like the first half of our bullpen. I love with Henches. I think's amazing. Gaddis is awesome. Obviously, Clase. Guys like that. But then there's also guys that seem to just struggle every time, and Scott Barlow and Tim Herron that are shaky. That I don't really think going to them in the playoffs is necessarily going to be the best bet. So I think if you could go out there and get a bullpen arm, that'd help.
Yeah, I agree that the bullpen will be probably something that is the most where you can match up with another team for a trade. But like they were saying, that right now there's only about 5 or 6 teams that you can really say that are going to be out of it. So that means that with everybody still kind of in the race, even for wild cards, there's just the trade partners aren't there. So I just don't see, as conservative as this franchise is, I don't see us going out and making that big trade. I think we have enough strength within the organization. I mean, the one guy I want to talk about, and I'm sure you guys saw the tweet, Doug Nikhazy up at AAA, 17 scoreless innings in a row. And yes, AAA to major leagues, there's a jump, no different than from AA to AAA, but he's proven himself at AAA. You're going. I think you guys agree. Logan Allen and McKenzie will be back. They'll be back in that rotation at some point. So I don't know. I just think as conservative as the front office is, I don't see any major trades. Taven, we've covered the Ducks, and they like a lot of their starting pitching down there, and with AAA. I remember at the beginning of the season we were talking about how we don't have as much depth in our starting pitching as we did have before, because so many with the Logan Allen and the Bibees and the Gavin Williams coming up last year, that takes away a little bit of the depth. But Espino being out again for another year, I just don't know. I really think we're kind of looking at the hand that we've been dealt, and I don't see a lot of trade-off this year. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I hope that we look at this from year to year and go, you know what? The drought's been so long. Let's go for it. Is this the year? I don't know. I don't feel confident in us going out and outbidding somebody that's just going to put a ridiculous offer out there for a starting pitcher, especially a trade within our division with the White Sox. That would just even be more costly. So I just don't see it. As far as a backup catcher, Austin Hedges, we're going to have to live, I think, with that batting average because of all the things. You know why we brought him back, and that's the locker room, that's the leadership, that's handling the pitching staff. I don't see us going out there. I mean, we should be happy Bo Naylor's hitting better. That's just kind of where I stand. I don't think there'll be a major trade at the deadline.
And not to cut you off, Kevin, but that's not like the worst thing in the world. Like you said, playing with the hand that you were dealt, it's just not going to help you out this year because your starting pitchers in the minor league are great. You have Doug Nikhazy coming up, Will Dion, who people have compared to Kershaw. He's in AAA, and then you got one of I think the best minor league staff in Akron's. You have Aaron Davenport, Ryan Webb down there. You have Austin Peterson, who they just brought up, Parker Messick, guys like that who have been on fire all year. So it's just going to take those guys time to come up and not help you out this year. But I mean, down the road, it's going to pan out if you put faith in those guys.
Derek said we need to thin the herd one way or the other, whether it's a bat two or an arm. I think that's what he meant.
To me, it depends on the return because you're going to take a beating on any trade, I think, other than we were talking about with somebody for the bullpen, which we have one of the best bullpens, in baseball, right? So we're adding to his strength. So that, yeah, having a bat. Is there a Cole Calhoun out there that we can add to the team, a little bit later in the season? Who knows? But it would be nice to have another vet, maybe bat off the bench. But gosh, we got so many guys itching out of AAA to keep popping up. Will Noel stick around much longer? I know Will Brennan's got rehab assignment coming up, right? So eventually he'll be back up on the squad. So I understand thinning the herd, but how much of that herd do you want to give up for another arm is going to be the big question.
I did see a report this week about the Marlins. Chaz Chisholm, the Guardians were one of 4 teams mentioned as a possibility for him. So, that he's a young outfielder. I think he's only 26. So he could be a possibility. Like you said, Brennan's coming back. Angel Martinez is kind of taking the reins in center field. And Tyler Freeman, I think, has had enough time. He's really been a disappointment in my mind. I thought he would hit a lot better than he has. But it seems like Martinez has taken the reins in center, and you got to play the hot hand, and he's red hot right now. So Sunday, finally, we have the MLB draft coming up. Guardians, of course, have the first pick. There's really been 3 guys rumored to possibly go number 1, starting with Charlie Condon out of Georgia. He's a third baseman and / outfielder at 433 with 37 homers, 78 RBIs, a 1.009 slugging, 1.565 OPS in 60 games. Really just video game numbers.
Yeah, it's not bad at all, right?
No, not bad at all. Travis Bazzana is another guy out of Oregon State. He's an infielder and outfielder. Not too shabby himself, hit 407, 28 homers, 66 ribbies. Stole 16 bases with a 911 slugging and a 1.479 OPS, also in 60 games. Then the other guy that's kind of been rumored, he was hurt for part of the year, J.J. Weatherhold out of West Virginia. He's an infielder, he plays second, short, and third. In the 36 games, he's hit 331, 8 homers, 30 RBIs, a 589 slugging, and a 1.061 OPS. What are your guys' thoughts for the number 1 pick from these 3 guys?
Well, we just got done talking about trade chips, right, and wanting to add an arm. Would it be possible to deal this pick? I mean, I've never heard of it in baseball, right?
No, yeah, it doesn't.
Trading the number 1 overall pick for somebody that can help us now. I don't know. That's a hell of a list. I mean, Condon's ridiculous. He would love the new improved home run park at Progressive Field. But I heard that they possibly could trade down too. I mean, that sounds like NFL and NBA stuff, but I don't know. I'm leaning into the infielders because that seems to be the hot thing for them. The Royals, the Orioles love to draft middle infielders and athletes that they can potentially move around, not only the diamond, but actually out to the outfield. So, Condon's fun to watch, though, his highlights too. But so we'll have to see. I don't know. I still think maybe Bazzana is probably the guy. Weatherholt being injured for part of the year kind of makes you think about Chase DeLauder a little bit with maybe an injury risk. So I don't know. Let's go bananas with Bazzana.
I think it's going to be Bazzana. But I also could see first baseman out of Florida. His name's Jack Caglione. He hit 35 home runs last year, 419 average and 875 slugging. And then this would just be to save money for the team because first round pick slot value is at 10.5 million. But if you were to go with Caglione, I was hearing that you could probably sign him from anywhere to like 9 mil. You could probably even throw out 9.5. There just because the Guardians have a round 6 competitive balance pick as well. And you're going to need money to sign whoever you take there. So I think it could be Caglione. He's a first baseman and he pitches too. The pitching's not really a strong style, so he wouldn't really turn into a Ohtani or whatever. But with Naylor's injury, you might make Naylor a first baseman, Caglione maybe throw out there at first. So I think that's where the Guardians could go, especially if they're just trying to save money in the draft.
I like the big flashy power, so kind of is my guy. Just my point is, I mean, you got a chance to take a guy who a type of player you haven't developed, over the last many years. They haven't developed many power hitters, and this guy is pure power. And also, I'd hate for us to pass on him and then watch the Reds take him at 2 and him blossom into, a superstar home run.
Yeah, kick our ass in the bat of Ohio.
Right. And we welcome in Clarence Wilson.
CW.
Hello. How's everyone doing?
Doing good. We're just finishing up our baseball, and then we'll be heading into the Cavs here. So before we wrap up the baseball talk, there's a guy down in Akron who's pretty hot right now. CJ Kafis, a first baseman / outfielder for the RubberDucks, started the year at Lake County. Combined numbers, he's at 329, 17 doubles, 4 triples, 15 homers, 70 RBIs, 604 slugging, and a 1.04 OPS in 67 games between high A and double A. Had 2 home runs and 5 RBIs, and last night's 19-3 win. Came into the season as a 27th ranked prospect. I imagine he's going to break the top 10 after this year. I know, Taven, you've gotten to see him. You gotten to interview him. Going to talk about CJ Kafis a little bit.
I mean, I love Kafis. I think he should probably be up in Columbus definitely by now. The dude can play anywhere. He plays first, and they've tried him at the corner spots in the outfield, and he's got a cannon. So that's where he works there. And as you said, he has a bat. They've been hitting him leadoff over the past like 2-3 weeks in the leadoff spot, and he's done great. He's had, I think, 6 stolen bases between like now and when he was put in the leadoff spot. But I mean, he can rake. He's one of the best hitting prospects that you have in the minor leagues. And I think if you were to go out and get a Crochet or somebody like that, that's a piece that they would want.
James, what do you think about Mr. Kafis? And you've had a chance to see him a little bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, we got Taven and I got to cover the game where he did have one of his multi-home run games. 3 on the season, right, Taven?
Yeah, he's got 3 multi-home run games.
Yeah, so he's a hurricane, and he's hot right now. I enjoyed watching him play. The question is, like I said, where they're moving him around to. That's the thing about our organization. Just because somebody's one position in the minors doesn't mean they're not going to bounce them around. So, and then that's the point of drafting athletes and guys that can play multiple positions. Look at Schneeman, what he's doing since he's been up. Taven, you called it. Props to you. What David Fry's doing and making the all-star team, playing in multiple positions. So we can see, as for the money that we don't spend, we can see where the value is and what our organization's doing to find ways to win. And it's just, the Guardians front office and actually the ownership's got to be sitting there and be like, fans, you need to be quiet. Just sit back and root for this team. Show up. We've had some awesome attendance in the last homestand. So for everybody to keep going to the games.
Yeah, I think they're averaging 20 plus per game, 20 plus thousand per game, which is great, and which, I mean, it helps as far as putting money back into the team as well.